Hi guys, so been waiting a long time to do this video about this company here, and if you can see that color, those colors, and you recognize it, then this is for you. This is all about Estateducation, or JaeVee as they were later conducting themselves under. Now, just to put this under context, I have known the individual behind these companies for, well, 20 years, and he first came back on the scene in Norwich in the UK over 10 years ago. And I have been waiting this long, finally, for things to catch up on him so I could do this video. So let's just make this really clear. The guy behind Estateducation, or JaeVee as it's called, is a guy called Ben Smith, and that's his name. The problem is when he first came back to the UK from Dubai, he didn't use his full name. He used his middle name, James, and he called himself Ben James. Now, if that doesn't spark alarm bells, I don't know what does. And I'll tell you how I came to find out about all of this, how he used me as a source of information, used my brand and the success that we were doing to recruit investors, do deals, and how it all came crashing down years ago, and it's still not out there in the public domain. The problem is lots of people fall for the glitz and glamour, shiny brochure style deals. And that is why so many people have been suckered in and so many people have lost so much money. But let's go right back to the start. How do I know this individual? Well, I grew up in Norwich. I used to go out drinking from the early ages of like 18, 19 years old. And you get to know a lot of people who are the similar sort of age. I think he's a year, if not 2 years older than me. So I knew all of him through drinking and going to nightclubs and bars and everything. And this guy sold insurance, and it was like a self-employed role where he would sell insurance to some builders or people who are at high risk of going into hospital if they were self-inflicted or caused work injuries. But it always seemed a bit ropey and, you know, a bit wide boyish. And all of a sudden, one day he just disappeared to Dubai. No one really knows, apart from he was selling this insurance. And in Dubai, he seemed to be doing really well. He seemed to be really successful. Now, I don't know the facts, so I'm only giving you my opinion or what I do know of my engagement with the individual on a personal basis. But you can just go and Google Ben Smith, which is his name, Smith & Ken, which was the name of his company in Dubai, which was a real estate agency. And you'll find old videos, you'll find old adverts, but you will also find lots and lots of articles and reviews. Now, it's for you to go and find those, but there is a reason why Ben Smith came back to the UK and called himself Ben James and has tried to remove every single post that is associated with his name and Dubai on Google. Go and Google it. And there's a reason why he can't go back to Dubai. Figure that one out. Now, I know what you're all probably thinking, because he does it to everyone, but he threatens you with lawyers and getting sued and all this stuff. Well, let's be honest. One, I'm financially much more stable than he is and his current position. And I have my own in-house lawyer, and I know the law. If I'm not saying anything that's factually true, then he has a case to bring. But if I'm saying everything that's in the public domain, everything that's factually true, or everything that's based on my own personal experience, he hasn't got a fucking chance. And if he thinks he has, fucking bring it on. Anyway, so fast forward to 2014, 2015. My business, Grace Charles, we were really getting going. We had the Norfolk Property Network, the biggest property networking event in East Anglia. We wiped the floor with Pin and Progressive. We just destroyed them. Huge. And it was all interlinked. We were offering environments for people to network. We were doing deals off market. We were working with investors. It was just a great mix. Anyway, Ben Smith turns up at my networking events. He wants to get started in property. He starts coming to the auctions with me. He starts coming to my office and having a coffee with me. He asked me to take him to some of my projects, which I'm refurbishing. So I drive him around. I take him to my refurbs, which are student refurbs. I show him a pub that I want to potentially buy and turn into a big student complex. All of a sudden, Estateducation appears. And some of my investors who attend my networking event are getting emails from Estate Education saying that they are linked to me and my business, which is not true. And I'm getting asked, do I know Estate Education? Do I know a Ben James? I'm like, no, I don't know anyone by that name. Anyway, the pub that I'm buying, I get gazumped on out of the blue. And one of my investors comes to me and shows me an email advert from this company, from a Ben James, looking for investment for his newly bought pub. Anyway, after a few diggings around, it turned out to be Ben Smith. Not only was he a complete shark that ended up losing millions of pounds for his investors, from the very get-go, for his potential friends that he was seeking advice from, he was trying to go behind my back. Anyway, we made it very, very clear that we were going to distance ourselves from this. So we made it clear that any estate agent, any letting agency, any contractor, any supplier that wanted to work with us, that we were the big fish, we paid our bills. If they worked with them, we would never engage with them. Architects and everything. So that quickly put them on the back burner. Anyway, I started getting contacts from investors saying that, am I working with this Ben James? I made it really clear that I wasn't. He started doing networking events. He started talking about his projects, which were going to turn over millions of pounds and create hundreds of % returns and hundreds of thousands of pounds of cash for investors. Most of those projects have failed. One or two did get completed. All you need to do is Google those projects. You will see that there's a raft of contractors who never got paid. Most projects that I turned my nose up at, the Ferryboat Inn, the Mercy nightclub deal, was because they were commercially unviable. Cleaning businesses, Hannon Cleaners business went bankrupt because he was owed so much money by this company. Thousands of investors have invested in the crowdfunding platform known as JaeVee and have never got a return and have lost their money. And I warned everybody because I don't give two shits what this idiot is going to potentially try and bring against me. Bring it on. He has nothing. He doesn't even have the backing to come after me. And I put a post over the weekend because one of the sites is 10 years old in Norwich, Yarmouth Road, a load of flats, has finally come on the market again. That site has been repossessed twice. He bought it back with new investors' money once. It's been repossessed again. Disaster of a project. Property Tribes, Vanessa Warwick, where the fuck are you now? All you do is literally get paid off by developers and don't go after them. And you go after the people who are their competitors. So this is a really good example that if you believe in Property Tribes and the shiny bullshit that comes out of that website, you are probably one of the people who have lost money to this company and others like it. And that post triggered a massive response. I've had 2 or 3 people message me, 3 or 4 comment. Every single company has now had a change of director, change of office address, and the share capital has been changed. Now, that's normally a process that you've gone into administration or the liquidators have been called in or whatever. Now, I don't know 100%, but that's normally a sign of it, and it's happened to all of the companies. That just goes to show. Now, I'm not against anyone trying to breach the boundaries and push businesses and make something of themselves. But when you start with the intent of literally going behind people's backs and trying to build success off their brand and their success, it was a recipe for disaster. The Ferryboat Inn is never going to get built out. There's more money to be spent in the ground there than there is profit to be made in the whole deal. That's why it will never get finished. The Mercy nightclub deal, I was offered that nearly 10 years ago. It's not commercially viable. That will be another nightclub before it is finished as flats. But to my 40,000+ followers, if you are watching this video, have you had any experience with Ben Smith, aka Ben James, Estate Education, JaeVee, Smith & Kent in Dubai, and something similar in LA, I think happened? I want to hear from you on the comments. Let's get some traction because everybody who has engaged and lost out or been threatened, including their tenants. I've had tenants, students contact me about being threatened about when they just want things sorted. I want to hear from you. I want to gather every single person so I can help you eventually try and get something back for all of the pain that you've had.